All right, I am Tyler Myberg. I am 28 years old, and I live in this area right here in Fairfax. I do have a job at a computer recycling place, and it's a lot of fun. And I mainly spend my time playing computer games, Dungeons and Dragons, which I got a session today actually, and yeah, that's really about it. I am a big history buff. I love history, specifically, and one thing I do love about history is the possibility of alternate history, kind of like where like those what if moments of history. It's like, what if the Germans had won the First World War? What kind of difference would that make in the world and global politics? The kind of web of differences that creates is fascinating to me. I'm actually working on a book, and so what my kind of book is, the Roman Empire kind of surviving past when it kind of what most people consider it falling, and encountering and kind of having a mini industrial revolution. There's like an author called I think his name is Harry Turtledove. I know his last name is Turtledove, and he's written a bunch of books about like how had like the South winning the Civil War and how like this separate entity in the United States kind of existing and how it affect the federal states that kind of remain together. And it's a fascinating concept that I wish I could read, but my dyslexia forbids me from doing so. Okay, this is actually quite interesting because if you could tell just by looking at me, you could not tell that there was any sort of disabilities going on. But they really kind of start to show when under very kind of when there's lots of kind of information kind of being given to me at once, or there's very kind of stressful situations where I kind of have to make split second decisions or kind of complex problem solving. Like I'll start getting overwhelmed. I'll kind of shut down. Like I'll just kind of, for lack of a better word, panic, but not really panic. Like I'll just kind of wig out and just not kind of stand there paralyzed. We've been seeing doctors for the past 20 years and try to figure out what's going on. No definitive answers one way or another. We keep finding things that are close to what we think's going on, but there'll be one element of it that just kind of chucks it out the window. Like I'm super into my routines, borderline like OCD levels, but not quite enough to be classified as that. I have ADHD, but not to the extent where I'm like bouncing off the walls or like easily distracted. I am easily distracted, but I'm not like super energetic or anything. And my memory is god awful. If it weren't for all this technology, I would just be lost. I have a lot of elements of people who are on the spectrum, but I don't have that one big thing that unifies all the people who are on the spectrum. So it's like it's like I have this one analogy I came up with. Like I have the to make like people on the spectrum being bronze. I have the tin, but I don't have the copper to make the bronze, if that makes sense. Well, I have learning disabilities. That's the one that we can actually get solid documentation for. Dyslexia, that's one. What affects make it really hard to read, hard to do math. And I think I have, well, recently me and my mom went to some doctor in DC and try and get a more accurate kind of diagnosis. But it was like I don't remember the name of it, but it's like some sort of auditory processing disability. I don't quite remember what it's called off the top of my head because that happened very recently. I can't get any testing done to confirm or deny what I have or don't have because I'm just too old. It has been an immensely long process. Like the folder me and my mom have of all the testing, all the paperwork we have it's like a book. It is insane how much we've been going through to try and figure out what's going on. When I was in elementary school, I was not able to pay attention because I would get overwhelmed by all the talking just because too much auditory instructions. It's like my brain's like a funnel, like a small funnel. The more stuff goes in, the more it just overflows, and I just don't retain any of it. And that's kind of the analogy that we've kind of stuck with, is that my brain's just a really small funnel, where most people have a much larger funnel. So it's just like if there's too much information, I will just get kind of confused and not know what's going on, and I'll just kind of tone out and not pay attention, which really disrupted my kind of earlier learnings. But the first years of public school, when I went to public school in Chantilly, probably the worst years of my life because no one knew what all the mental health stuff was. They just thought I was, a weird kid. But then my parents found this school in D.C. called the Lab School of Washington. And the moment that I went there, it was like a revelation. Like I learned to love learning again, because before that I did not want to go to school. I was like clinging to the bed, clinging to the car. I don't want to go to school. I hate it here. But the moment I went to DC, it was like a renaissance of me, for me, a personal renaissance. I learned to love learning. I learned to have fun. I learned that people are not evil. It was probably the best experience I have ever had. And after seventh grade, I went back to public school. And by that point, public knowledge of learning disabilities, people with like me who are a little different, had caught up with the school system, and I was able to kind of coexist with the normies, as it were. And I was able to be fine, yeah. And I got through high school, got my diploma in high school. It was great. I will say it was probably the teaching stuff, like people who know like how to treat people, or kids even, I guess the more accurate term, kids who have these developmental disabilities, know how to treat them, know how to teach them in a way that they understand and are receptive to, and not make them feel ashamed. And that was the big eye opener for me, is that once they knew how to teach me a way I was receptive to, reassure me that that's fine that I'm different, I was like, I want to learn everything. Teach me, please. It was a true life-changing experience going to that school. I went to University of Lynchburg for about a year and a half, and that's when I had my first depressive episode, and I had to come home. It was a time where I didn't quite know what I wanted from myself, what I wanted to do with my life. Like, I thought I wanted to go into film, do a lot of that stuff. I still kind of do, but not in the same way now that I know what's behind it. Yeah, it was kind of like an eye-opening experience of, this is not what I want to be doing. I don't know what I want. And then that's kind of when it hit me, that I don't know what I want to do. Everyone kind of goes through that, is this really what I want to do kind of moment, and how everyone handles it, it's different from person to person. And I've only just, maybe the past 5 years or so, I've been able to kind of pull myself out a little bit into a more neutral state. I'm not at all anywhere close to where I was before college, but I'm certainly better off than I was. I would say I'm still a little depressed, but it's more like a meh than actual depression. It's like a middle ground. I finished up my degree at Nova, and then maybe after a year or two year and a half to kind of calm down, kind of get my life back in order, I got a degree in electronic engineering at ECPI. I did go to a few psychologists about, to kind of help talk through, which did help a lot, just being able to kind of talk about things, and I kind of painted a new perspective on how to look at things, and I realized, I actually have accomplished a lot. It's not as hopeless as I thought it was, which did help kind of pull me out of it. By kind of compartmentalizing it into a checklist of things I want to achieve in my life. And I checked off a lot more boxes than I thought I did. And it really did help. But I took Ritalin for my early childhood years, but then I outgrew it. I changed medications a number of times as I've gotten older and adjusted to different medications, became more used to them. But I am on a medication. I forgot what it's called. Ironically, it does the opposite of what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to calm people down. It actually wakes me up. From what I have experienced, the doctors have been receptive more recently, especially because now mental health is now more public knowledge than it was 20 years ago. But then when I try to go into I have word processing, word retrieval, auditory stuff, that's where people kind of start going, I don't know what that is. And that's the one that affects me the most. I will say I'm fortunate enough to have been born when I was, that people are kind of becoming more aware that, like, had I been born maybe a year or two earlier, I would have had a much rougher time. I would say that it doesn't matter how extreme or how little it is, that just because someone doesn't quite understand what you have, it's not the end of the world. As long as you have a group of friends that understands you, who gets you in a strong, supportive family network, it doesn't matter. You will get through it.